Hello everyone and welcome back to the JPonComms YouTube channel. Today we are going to be taking a look at Maidstone United's game versus Bath City. Of course, a very underwhelming performance. Of course, a 3-0 defeat on the road. The polar opposite of what happened last time we visited Twerton Park 2 years ago with the Juan Luque Masterclass. But of course, it's time to take a look into the game, where things went wrong, what things went right, and how Maidstone can improve for Braintree on Tuesday night. So, spoken to quite a few people about it as well. Myself, Piers, Nigel all had a little catch up after the game as well, as they were commentating that one. And I also spoke to a few other people since too. And for me, personally at least, I think going into the game, we weren't set up correctly. I really don't think we were set up correctly against Slough. Obviously, I thought we performed pretty well for the first 60 to 70 minutes. And then, of course, when they went down to 10 men, we looked to shore things up at the back. And I think that's okay as long as you can control possession. If you can keep on top of the other team while still remain a little bit tighter at the back, okay, play 5 at the back. But if you're going to play 5 at the back, don't sit everybody back. Don't keep everyone pinned in your half. It's going to put you under unnecessary pressure. And against 10 men Slough, we did struggle. Let's be honest, we did struggle with that system. And I've never really been a fan of the 3 at the back or the 5 at the back. And that's in any walk of football. Premier League primarily, is where stuff like that is often trialled. They've got the players and the know-how to be able to pull things off like that. Obviously, you've got managers like Antonio Conte. That was his bread and butter. That kind of 3-5-2 or 5-3-2 at times. And when you've got the personnel, you've got the cohesiveness, you work with a team for a long period of time, you're able to soundly play in that structure. You're able to command games from the back, the midfield and the front in a more defensive lineup. You can still create chances while sitting back, and that's not something this Maidstone team did at all yesterday, unfortunately. And I think against Slough as well, we saw, inviting that unnecessary pressure really put us under risk. And I thought that was going to be the last we've seen of it. I think compared to how we played for the majority of that Slough Town game, compared to those, last 25 minutes or so, I thought that would be sayonara, defensive lineup. But we went straight into this game against Bath City with the same lineup. Now, for me, that's getting straight away off on the wrong foot. I think you'd understand that, we did struggle in that end of the Slough game. And I think knowing that you struggled as a player, going into the same game, setting up the same way, or the next game setting up the same way, is going to, whether you realise it or not, it's going to have that subconscious kind of, we're setting up exactly how we struggled last time, whether we play well or not. We struggled against 10 men last week. So, yeah, I think that may have been quite a big factor. I don't really know what positions some people were playing. Obviously, we had Covenant in goal. We had a back 3 of Gavin Hoyt playing like a right centre-back, Fowler centre-back, and Greenwich left centre-back. I thought that was okay, but it did end up with Gavin Hoyt getting exposed a couple of times. And I thought Gavin Hoyt, as you would have seen in my pre-season review, was one of our standout players in pre-season. I thought he was back to his best, given the freedom to get up and down the line. Looked very, very good, both defensively and offensively in pre-season. But yesterday against Bath, we really, really struggled down that side. And we had primarily Liam Soul as sort of a right wing-back player. And for me, he looked a little bit invisible. I remember a game in pre-season saying that Bivesh was playing in this right wing-back role, and I didn't know exactly what he was supposed to be doing. I didn't know if he was supposed to be sitting back. I didn't know he was supposed to be getting forward. He just kind of floated in that kind of middle third of the pitch and really had little influence on the game. And that seems to be the position that's now been allocated to Liam Soul. And I think that's quite dangerous, because when you've got someone who is as capable on the ball as Liam Soul is, and as good at getting forward as he is, you're commanding him to try and have that defensive mindset at times as well. He's never really going to be able to have that freedom to get forward. And when you've got Gavin Hoyt playing in a right back position in a back 4, whoever's going to be in front of him is going to be safe in mind that they've got one of our most experienced players behind them. And unfortunately, we didn't really have that yesterday. Gavin was getting dragged out a little bit too far to the right. Sol was obviously trying to get forward a little bit, but also trying to come back. And then they ended up just getting overrun at times as well. I mean, the guy that scored yesterday, the number 15, I think it was Thomas, brilliant game, absolutely brilliant game. You know, he quite easily bypassed Liam Sol because he's not a defender, and then Gavin's playing more centrally, so he's going to have to try and come out to get him. But in that time, Thomas has picked up speed. He's now running at Gavin with a significant amount of pace. Gavin's now going to be on the back foot because he's having to rush out to a player, and that's just not going to help us at all. It's not going to help Gavin's positional sense. It's not going to help the time he's got to try and close a player down, and ultimately it resulted in us conceding a couple of goals. And for me, I think we need to change that structure. We need to have a few more in midfield. We need to have less at the back. I think if you've got too many people at the back, there's a diffusion of responsibility. When you've got so many players in and around the defensive third, you know, we had 2 people in central midfield yesterday, 5 at the back for the majority of the game as well, obviously when we're on the back foot, and that would have been the plan. But when you've got 7 people there in an outfield position, who's responsible for picking up who? When you've got set defenders, you know, right, the right back's on the left winger, the centre backs are dealing with the strikers and maybe an oncoming runner from midfield, and then the left back's going to be dealing with the right winger. Yesterday, when we've got 5 players, you've got Gavin Hoyt and Liam Sol trying to figure out, well, who needs to be taken on the left winger? Every time he comes forward, is it Liam Sol supposed to be coming back? Well, maybe, but if he gets beaten, which he ultimately would because he's unfortunately not as good as defending as a right back, then we're going to struggle because now Gavin has got to try and make up that distance, and it just didn't work at all yesterday for me. I thought we struggled getting forward at times. Obviously, the perks of playing this kind of 3-back formation is that you have those fullbacks who can bomb on. Chiaz and Olim did get up and down the line quite effectively, but unfortunately the ball just wasn't there. There was a couple times he did get a good ball in, that header, that diving header from Solwan Giles Smith, of course. Fantastic delivery in from Chiaz and Olim, but really we didn't see much else more than that. And I think that, you know, at times we struggled getting forward. Again, it was that who's responsible for pushing up. Obviously, Chi, if he's supposed to be defending and he does get up, does that then mean Greenwich is slotting into that left wide role, you know, to try and block an oncoming winger? And if so, that's going to really, really leave us thin at the back, because what's going to happen is if you've got 2 wing backs pushing on, they get beaten, let's say. So you've got Liam Sol and Chiaz and Olim are now behind the wingers for Bath City. Bath City come pushing forward. Well, now you've got a back 3 up against 2 wingers who are pushing on and a striker and an attacking midfielder, which we saw yesterday in their number 10, who also picked up a goal. But then it's a 3-on-4, and we're going to be outnumbered because we're going to have Greenwich pulling out to the wing, we're going to have Hoyt pulling out to the wing, and we're going to have George Fowler left alone in the middle. And that's what happened for one of their goals yesterday. Chi's been beaten, Greenwich has gone out wide to try and close down the man, the ball's come in, it's bypassed George Fowler because he's left in no man's land, he slid in to try and get a foot in on the ball, missed it because there's nothing else he can do, and then because Gavin's been dragged out wide, he's got, you know, the player's got the jump on him, and he's got an easy goal at the back post for their first goal. And for me, unfortunately, you know, that was the tail of the game. It was going to be sink or swim against Bath. We sunk. Unfortunately, we could not tackle that hurdle, and I think a lot of the weaknesses stem from the formation. Maidstone, at least in recent years, have never played with a midfield 2. I think Corn and Kelly got overrun yesterday. I think, unfortunately for Connor Kelly, he struggled to adjust to the men's game in England. It's a huge step up from what he was doing in America. Obviously playing college football, maybe not used to the physicality needed in these divisions just yet. I think he'll turn out all right, but I think he needs to be given more freedom. He's playing an incredibly disciplined role in a midfield 2 with Sam Corn. Sam Corn did okay yesterday, getting around, getting stuck in where possible, but they outnumbered us in the midfield because the wide players couldn't get central to help pick up the numbers they had there. And when you're overwhelmed in midfield, that's the engine room of your team, and that is where a lot of their chances come from. Although all of their goals came from the width, ultimately it was getting that ball through the midfield quite easily, which allowed them to spread the play open and find people out wide. And Sam Corn might have got stuck in a couple of times, but if he goes in for a challenge and does lose out, which is going to happen, you can't win 100% if he challenges, then there's one other person in midfield to pick up 2 or 3 midfielders, and that is really where we fell down. Connor Kelly couldn't do it all in terms of trying to mop up where Sam Corn might have missed an initial challenge, and vice versa. Sam Corn, he's going to be playing on a completely different side of the pitch to Connor Kelly. If he misses out on a challenge, Corn's got to try and come over, and he's going to end up leaving his man, which then makes him free for a pass, and again the same thing happens. So yeah, that's my problem with the midfield. I think we need to see through midfield. I know we did have Devontae Arancibia playing that more attacking midfield role at times as well in the first half of the game, with Kelly and Corn sitting behind him, but I don't think that Kelly's cut out for that. I think he's supposed to be that player who's bombing on. We've seen, of course, in his highlights from his time in America and in pre-season, given that freedom, that influence to go forward, get a ball into the box, get a shot off, he's going to be a more important player to this team. And I think if we'd have maybe Sam Corn playing a more defensive position, just holding it back a little bit, with Devontae maybe playing a slightly more advanced role, Kelly given that freedom to roam position in the midfield and just get stuck in where possible, maybe pick up loose balls and try and play a ball forward. There was a couple times Kelly played some sensational balls. There was one down the line on the right hand side to Levi Manchi, which was so perfectly weighted, really gave Levi a great opportunity to get onto that and work as an opportunity going forward. But that's what he can do when he's got the time on the ball. He's got the freedom on the ball. He's a young player. He needs time to develop his game at this level. And I think we're not playing to his advantages. And for me, that was the story of yesterday. We did not play to any of the players in our team's strengths. I don't think, at least anyway. You've got Sam Corn, who's very, very good at the nitty-gritty, picking up the stray pass, the odd player who's bombing on, getting a challenge in last minute. If he's overwhelmed, if he's outnumbered, he fails at his job, and that's not his fault. Connor Kelly, Devontae Arancibia, when they've got that freedom, they've got that security behind them in Sam Corn or Sam Bone, if fit, they're going to thrive too. Liam Sol, much better in the attacking third of the pitch, took on a number of players a number of times yesterday. Unfortunately, the final ball at quality did not play to his strengths, forced him back too much. Exactly the same as we saw with Levi Manchi. Playing in a front two, I don't think suits him. He was forced out wide a lot, where, do not get me wrong, he was very, very good. There was a couple times down both wings, which we've seen in a few times this season actually already, against Slough as well, where he picks up ball up and he drives down the left wing. He's got very good feet for someone of his size. I said this as soon as we signed him. He's also got physicality to back it, and he can work a ball into the box. But then you've got Solwandro Smith on his own, and that's where we fail. We did not get the numbers forward. We did not have, I think, perhaps the responsibility of each player to get forward. Liam Sol obviously has been told to, keep an eye going back. He's then not there in the edge of the box region if Levi's drifted out wide to provide that support all the time. And that is where we downfalled going forward for me. I think we need to see a reversion back to what we saw under Hakan in that title-winning season, 4-3-3. My number one lineup for this Maidstone team would be Coverland in goal, Chi Ezeonim at left-back, Reece Greenwich left centre-back, George Fowler right centre-back, Gavin Hoyt right-back, Sam Bone or Sam Corn in a central defensive midfield position, Devontae Arancibia and Connor Kelly in a central midfield position, and then on the right-hand side, I'll say Lamar Reynolds, just because of his pace, and end product did improve towards the end of last season. I thought he could have made a difference yesterday. Didn't get the opportunity to come on. On the left-hand side, Solwandro Smith was exceptional there for pretty much an entire season against Hungerford. Played there in pre-season for Maidstone as well this year. Succeeded there. And Levi Manchi up front. We need to have Levi staying in the middle. His footwork and ability on the ball can provide us goals. And I think if we can find him in the box, get deliveries in, he's going to score goals. But the service he got yesterday was quite poor. A lot of launch balls up to him. And to be fair to him, Nigel said this on the commentary as well, he won 90% of his aerial duels. He must have done. 90% of the balls going up to him. You wouldn't have expected anything to come from it. But a lot of the time he chested it down, shouldered it down, flicked it on with his head, or worked the ball down to his feet and beat a player himself. But he never had that support there, because you've got Solwandro Smith, who is forced to play a slightly wider role when Levi's in the middle, and then it's hard for him to run on. So if you're going to play this system, we need to be far more experienced at it, and I don't think that we can do that right now. We need to get results, we need to build confidence, and we need to do something which is going to be a lot safer than trying to orchestrate a brand new squad in a brand new system that nobody is familiar with. From what I've looked at on all of the sides for the new signings coming in, not one of the players we signed has come from a side who plays this formation. And you're signing Liam Sol from St Albans, who played in a front three. You're signing Levi Manchi, who played in a front three. You're signing Devontae Aaron-Sibia, who played in a midfield three or four at times for Tunbridge. You're signing Connor Kelly, who, I can't lie, I don't know what formation they played in college football in America, but Welling played in a back four 90% of the time. So I don't think we're putting the players we've got in the best positions they can play in. I think we're trying to play a very safe style of football, which is only safe if you're able to do it. And I don't think we're cut out for it yet. I think it's going to take a lot longer than a 4-week pre-season, especially when you've got 7 or 8 new signings into the side, to make this sort of thing work. And I don't think we're going to be able to do it. And I don't know, again, a lot of stick has come with George Elokobi in recent days as well, and I understand it. I don't say I completely agree with it, but there's definitely criticism there. I think that there is responsibility that has to be taken by himself, and I think he knows that as well. But for me, individuals have got to look at themselves as well. I think people do need to fight a little bit harder. Obviously, like I say, it's a new system. It is a new system, but unfortunately, even if you've never played it before, if that's what the manager says to do, you've got to do it, and you've got to try and play it to the best of your ability. But we need a lot more work going into this team. I think we need to do what we did in pre-season and play that back four. I think at times when we did try and debut this system in pre-season, didn't work. Last season in the National League, playing this 3 or 5 at the back, didn't work. I do not like having a 2-man midfield. I don't see the point in it. You're getting, like, there's very few teams in any league, especially in National League South, that aren't playing a 4-4-2 or a 4-3-3, which means you're going to be outnumbered in midfield every single time. And the perk of this system is supposed to be you can defend the wide area as well. You can overload the wide area as well on attack as well. And we didn't do that. So for me, any positives we're supposed to gain from playing this system aren't showing. And I think that tells me we need a change. So hopefully against Braintree in midweek, Tuesday night, of course, over there, I'm going to be commentating that one with Connor. We're going to see something a little bit brighter, a little bit more true to what Maidstone United is all about in terms of that structure, in terms of that rigidity throughout the team, defence, midfield, attack. Everybody's on the same wavelength. Everybody knows their role. Everybody is comfortable in what they're doing. Hopefully, if we do that, we can get a result against Braintree. Trust me, we're going to need it because we've got a tricky few games coming up straight after that. So if you made it this far in the video, do subscribe to the channel down below. Do like the video and give me your comments and feedback on what you feel Maidstone need to do to change these results for the future. So thank you also very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.